Alrighty, what's happening, people? Another week. We're getting very close to the fantasy playoffs. Week 12. A lot of your trade deadlines are going to be popping up here soon. We're going to help you set the best lineups. We're going to think about all of the changes with injuries, because there are quite a few injuries. They just keep racking up, specifically to my Flock Fantasy team. And we're going to help review some of your fantasy football teams heading into said playoffs. I appreciate y'all big time for being here with me. If you want to enter today's giveaway, we do have one, and we are going to be giving away some questions on the Flock site, some vouchers on the Flock site. So if you'd like to submit one like some of these people have, it's a fairly simple entry. All you need to do is firstly like the stream, secondly type week 12 all one word, and that will enter you into the giveaway. I appreciate y'all big time for being here with us. You know, I just want to quickly talk about the Jamar Chase stuff, because I find it's so funny to me. Surely we'll get an apology, right? I find the Jamar Chase stuff so funny. Am I the only one? I'd love to hear from the chat on this, because this man plays in the NFL. He's well aware of that. He's a very smart man, right? And he damn well knows that he spit on someone. And he damn well knows that the NFL has hundreds of cameras. Every angle. Brother, they're seeing what inch to the first down line you're at every single game. All right? They have cameras on the back of the end zone, the other side of the end zone, the sideline, in the pylons. They got cameras sometimes on the refs. I mean, and this man, when asked about it, was like, I would never even open my mouth to Jalen Ramsey. Like, can athletes please just own up to their shit? Sorry, family friendly. But that was just like, dude, for real? You clearly spit on him. All right? Just own up to it. We all see the video. Like, you're on camera. This is a live television show. Anyway. Okay, let's jump into some questions. Again, I appreciate y'all big time for being here. We are going to give away some vouchers. I just think that's so dumb. All you need to do to enter is type week 12 into the chat. Honestly, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to switch up the... should I switch up the giveaway word? No, we're not going to do anything stupid. I was thinking about switching it up, but no, week 12 is the word, is the code word. So all you got to do, again, is like the stream, type week 12 into the chat. I appreciate y'all big time for being here. If you want to get a question prioritized, you can obviously submit that through the Flock Fantasy website. That is the pinned comment in the chat right now. There is obviously no pressure whatsoever to do so. And if there are any super chats on YouTube, I will get to them right after we get to the Flock Fantasy site questions. So again, appreciate y'all big time for being here with us. Still waiting on news surrounding Bucky Irving. Still waiting on news surrounding Chris Godwin, Jaylen Warren, Aaron Rodgers. There's quite a few players that we aren't sure at the time of recording this, or sorry, streaming this, if they're going to be out there ready to go this week. You have to make some difficult decisions on the waiver wire tonight. For example, you know, names like Emmanuel Wilson will be important. Kenneth Gainwell. I have Sean Tucker. And yes, I didn't start him. Obviously, I'm frustrated about it. I wish I would have started him myself in the Flock League. Didn't expect the Bills to be that incompetent. But here we are. He's going to be a great start if Bucky Irving isn't in play. There's just so many ifs this week. So I'm going to do my best to help you guys set those lineups. And we appreciate y'all big time for being here. Okay, let's go to our Doobie, who's in a 16-man league. And he says, I'm going to be 8-3 after this week. He would send away Baker Mayfield and Tyrone Tracy. It's a one quarterback 16 team, start 7. A 16-team league is significant. Right now, Trevor Lawrence is your starter. If you made this move, you'd be starting Patrick Mahomes, Saquon, oh my gosh, CMC, Lad McConkey. Wow, your wide receiver room is terrible. I guess Lad McConkey, Josh Downs, and Travis Kelce, and your last flex would be Chase Brown. Yeah, you know, I gotta be honest. I don't mind the trade. I honestly think the trade is a good upgrade for you. I don't mind trusting Baker for the rest of the year. I know he's been a little bit up and down. And I totally understand that concern. But if this is the best trade out there, sure, go ahead and take it. I might be more interested in trying to upgrade your receiver room than anything. I have no idea who you're starting on a weekly basis without Ladd McConkey, or outside of Ladd McConkey. So I'm just wondering, like, is there a trade where, you know, you can send Baker Mayfield and Tyrone Tracy? I don't know, man. Can we use Josh Downs and Baker Mayfield instead? And instead of getting a Mahomes back, we want back a, I don't know, I guess you could say like a Pittman, but I'm not even that excited about a Pittman. Look, I like the deal overall. All I'm saying is I would first try and package Baker and Downs to maybe get an upgrade at receiver, because you're just so thin at receiver. There's not even two players that you can rely on. DK's on your waiver. Brandon Ayuk might be worth picking up in your league. Jaden Reed's certainly worth picking up in your league. But look, overall, I think that it is pretty fair. It's a pretty fair deal, and it's a big upgrade for your one quarterback 16-team league. And I'm more okay to do it because it's a start 7. It's such a small starting lineup. Okay, let's go to Gadgets, who would be sending away Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. And they will be getting back Chase Brown and Rashee Rice. Interesting. I would say this is a relatively fair deal. I do like Chase Brown's schedule for the rest of the season. My only concern with Chase Brown is really Samaje Perine. And, you know, when Samaje Perine was healthy, he was obviously a big part of that backfield, and they were splitting a lot of time. And this was back like weeks, you can really see it weeks 5 to 8 if you guys see here. I'll show y'all 47%, 46, 37, 42% of the snaps. We're seeing him getting plenty of opportunities on the ground, also used on third downs. So my only concern would be, when does he come back? Because he's now been gone 2 weeks. They didn't put him on IR. I would expect him back either this week or next week. I do like Chase Brown though. Man, I wonder if you need to win. If you need to win right now, I'm fine to do this because of the Chase Brown injury. We don't know 100% sure if he's going to play this week or not. But if you're already a contender, you might as well hold the side that you have. So, yeah, those are my concerns really with Chase Brown. I'd be curious if there's another name here that you could get. No, not really. But could you make it a 3 for 3? You could definitely improve your receiver room. I wonder if we can make this a 3 for 3 where, you know, we send a Shakir for a Diggs, or if it's not Diggs, then can we get an Adunze for a Shakir or a Jacoby Myers? I would try those deals first. All right, let's jump into Junior here, who says opponent is 1-9 last place. League will call collusion. Okay, so you are trading Jones, Olave, and Addison to your league mate who is 1-9, and you would be getting Amon-Ra St. Brown. That would give you a starting lineup of, let's say, Daniel Jones for now, or just any of these quarterbacks. Achane Jacobs, Rice, Amon-Ra, Warren, and your last flex spot is probably Adams or Henderson. So you certainly have the depth to do something like this. This actually makes a lot of sense from a depth perspective. Look, it's not really up to you to decide if the league's going to call collusion. I don't think this is an insane trade. Let's go back and look at the other guy's team. I would argue the other guy's team is pretty bad. I'm not sure that this trade helps him, but like, if this trade went through in my leagues, I wouldn't call collusion. I would just be like, all right, that guy's in a tough spot. Clearly, I want the Amon-Ra St. Brown side, but I understand why he feels a need to change things up. But I would never call this collusion, but a lot of your leagues are very strict on this kind of stuff. But I don't think that can stop you from taking the deal. All right, PPAV26, that's a Dynasty review. We'll get to that on tomorrow's Dynasty stream. D's Nuts is starting either Goff or Stafford this week. I like both of these names. Goff versus the Giants, clearly, and then Stafford versus Tampa Bay. I want to start Stafford more here, but they're both great options. Stafford's on an MVP pace. We'll talk about him in tomorrow's video. On wide receivers, I'll go Odunze. He's got a good matchup. And then at tight end, you can't sit Kittle at the moment. And in your flex spot, you're probably playing Jake Ferguson. It's a tough call between Jake and Cade because they both have pretty decent. I actually like Cade's matchup better, but Jake is just a little bit more on a roll. What's up, Scribbles? Yes, we were big Pickens people. I'm glad to see him thriving. The talent was always there. It's great to see. And that's the problem with a lot of these guys in Dynasty football specifically. A lot of these guys are so talented, they're just in terrible situations. But thank God George got into a good one. All right, Andre, he says, it's actually C-Rod plus Jacobs for Jamar plus Love. Okay, Chris Rodriguez and Josh Jacobs for Lamar plus Javonte. I don't know why I said Love. All right, so you'd be losing, you'd be getting Javonte for Jacobs. I don't have a strong opinion there. And then Chris Rodriguez for Lamar. It seems like a no-brainer, man. I don't understand why you wouldn't do this deal. You've already got Caleb. You've already got Jackson Dart. Man, I can't think of a reason not to do this trade. Now your starting lineup. Oh, your running back room is terrible, though. But it's not like it's much better with Josh Jacobs dealing with an injury. Yeah, your running back room is awful. Look, I'll be honest with you. If I would do this deal simply because Lamar Jackson has more value than Chris Rodriguez. And then what I would aim to do next is probably sell Lamar Jackson. If I can turn Lamar Jackson into a top 15 running back, I think that really probably puts you in a better spot. And then you can start Dart when he's healthy. And when he's, if he's not ready this week, you can start Caleb Williams. So overall, yes, I would accept the trade, but I'd be aiming to then probably flip Lamar after that because I do think your running back room desperately needs some help. But with Josh Jacobs' current injury, I don't think you're losing out much by getting old mate there. Guys, I appreciate you again for being here with us. All you got to do to enter today's giveaway, we'll give away some vouchers on the Flock site, is like the stream and type week 12 into the chat. That's as simple as it gets. I just got a text from KFC. I haven't eaten KFC in years. Why is that even? How does KFC have my number? Is anybody else getting like a huge amount of spam messages in the last 6 months? It's starting to be frustrating. Okay. All right, let's jump into Austin P90. Says, should this be vetoed? I am commish. Don't like to veto, but this feels like a problem trade. Let me know. So you would send away, someone would send away Will Howard and Blake Corum for 2 firsts. I mean, that's a tough one, obviously. I mean, clearly there's not a single... Look, Will Howard and Blake Corum combined probably aren't even worth a second-round pick. So, if I'm reading this correctly, the way you've submitted it, he has sent away 2 firsts for 2 guys who are combined not even worth a second. I'm not even sure why Will Howard's in the deal. Respectfully, like, Will Howard isn't worth anything. He's a backup. Look, here's what I can say. I define collusion by 2 people purposefully making a move that hurts the league with bad intentions. I think the intentions part of that is important. So if you're in a league and the person who made this trade is actually just not very smart, as in they're a terrible fantasy football player, then you can't really call collusion. But what you absolutely would have to do is seriously question whether you want to be in a league with that person and what power you have to remove them. And you know, I was in a league not too long ago, where I was with some friends, and this was back in 2019. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember, but I was in a Dynasty league with a bunch of friends, and one of them kept making really bad trades, and I don't know if they had bad intentions, but they were really bad at it, right? And eventually we just removed them from the league because they knew they weren't good at it. And there was a time where he mentioned, hey, I did this because I wanted to help my friend, not because I thought it was a good trade. So I think this would take some investigation. This will come down to the league. There's just no world where this is a good trade, right? But ultimately that comes down to you as a commissioner. What would I do? I'd probably put it to a vote if the league wants to put it to a vote, right? So you'd ask, hey, do you guys want to vote on this? Clearly it's a terrible trade, right? But you have to be careful about how you're defining collusion, because there could just be a really stupid owner in your league. I know that sounds rude, but yeah, there's just no world where this, here's what I'll say 1,000 bajillion %. There's not a single world that exists where this trade makes any sense at all whatsoever, outside of someone being really bad at fantasy football. Okay. Big Tex has a team review, and we'll get to that here in a second. Loco Goes says, final 5 weeks, Gibbs has tough matchups but is elite. Brown has all good matchups. DK has mostly good but is meh. Oh, no way. There's just not, no way. Brother. Come on, Loco. I mean, I appreciate you submitting the question, but brother, come on. You could tell me Jahmyr Gibbs is facing the Kansas City defense every week of the playoffs, and I would tell you not to do that. You know, obviously matchups matter, and in better matchups, Gibbs will be better, and in more difficult matchups, it will be tough. But this is a guy that's used in the air, on the ground. He's a part of an elite offense. He's an elite player. Any single touch, there's very few guys in the league that you can say this. Any single touch can be a touchdown, right? Chase Brown, you have to think about the fact that at some point Samaje Perine could be back. So what if Samaje Perine gets more involved? Right now, there is no one at all taking opportunities away from Chase Brown. Samaje Perine could be that when he's back from his ankle injury. He was that before his ankle injury, and there's just no reason to believe that DK Metcalf is going to be reliable for you. My friend, since week 7, in the past 5 weeks, one game he scored over 10 PPR points. And he's had great matchups. Indianapolis was a smash matchup. Cincinnati you thought would be a great game. It's just, I'm not sure it matters. I'm not sure it matters who he plays. So this is, there's just no chance I'm making this deal. There's no chance I'm making this deal. Okay. He's in the chat, by the way, says, I'm really new to fantasy, so pardon my ignorance. Thank you for your help. Don't worry. Hey, you don't need to pardon your ignorance. It's fine. I just want to make sure I get across my opinion. And obviously I have. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for showing up. All right, let's go to Keish Bag, who is starting Brock Purdy, Judkins, Genty, JSN Puka, Trey McBride. And in the flex spot, they're deciding between Woody Marks, Darnell Mooney, Ricky, and Judy. All right. So here's the good news for Woody Marks, and that is where I would go here. So I'll probably put Genty in your flex because Woody plays on Thursday night. You want to hear the good news or the bad news? Let's start with the bad news. The bad news is their offensive line is terrible and it's probably not going to change. The bad news is most of the time that he touches the ball, there's a defender in his face. And that's really the bad news. All right, so very rarely does he actually get a chance to shine. Here's the good news. In the last couple weeks, he's completely taken over the backfield. It's not even close. Nick Chubb is an afterthought at this point. Last week, he had career highs in rushing attempts with 18. And, you know, those numbers have been going up in the past 3 weeks. So, and the other good news is Buffalo is a really good matchup for your running backs. If the Texans' offense, their rushing attack, can look competent against any defensive line, it'll be in this game on a Thursday night. Now, I can't promise you that, obviously. We can't predict the future, right? We can only go off what we know, the stats and analytics that we have. So that's where I would go. I would go Woody Marks. Don't trust Judy enough. I don't know if it's Sanders, or I don't even care at that point. Ricky Pearsall, I could easily see him being the better option, but he needs to prove it a little bit first. He had 0 yards on 1 catch last week. Darnell Mooney would have been a fun name to mention, and I might start him in the Flock League. Who knows? But last time out with Kirk Cousins, didn't do much at all, so that's my rationale behind the answer. I appreciate you big time. Samuel, what's up, man? Dak Prescott or Jacoby Brissett? I'm going to go Dak Prescott. If I'm not mistaken, he plays the Eagles this week. And Brissett's been great, no doubt about it. What Brissett did last week was insane, by the way. What did he throw the ball? What was it, like 60? How many passing attempts? 57 passing attempts, which is insane. Like, insane. But yeah, we're going to go with Dak Prescott there. And you've got Caleb Williams already. Would I start Jacoby over Caleb? I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I'm starting Jacoby over Caleb. Someone tell me I'm crazy. I think I'm starting Jacoby over Caleb. Jacoby's worst game as a starter was against Seattle, where he scored 19.4 points. Jacksonville defense is tough, but they're just letting him sling the rock. And Caleb's been much more up and down. Much more up and down. Since week 7, you've only been happy with 2 games, really. I think I'm going Jacoby Brissett. Call me crazy, but that's what my rankings say. At receiver 2 here, a lot of options. Michael Wilson would be my option here in the event that Marvin Harrison doesn't play. We don't know the answer to that yet. But if Marvin Harrison's out there, I would find it difficult to start Michael. I think Michael goes back to irrelevancy. You know what? Shout out to Michael, by the way. Kicking my ass out of the Flock playoffs pretty much with a 33.5 point game. 185 receiving yards. Who would have thunk it? Turned into Megatron for 1 week. But yeah, it would be him unless Marvin comes back. And if Marvin is back, I'm probably going to lean... It's either Keenan here. Oh, Keenan's on bye. Excuse me. Sorry. It's either Burden or Pearsall. I'll probably go Pearsall in the event that that Marvin is playing. At tight ends, we'll probably go Loveland this week. I really like his matchup. Loveland gets the Steelers. It's a good matchup for your tight ends. And then your flex spots, I wouldn't change anything. You've already got it the way I would set it up. Appreciate you, man. Your What Hurts says, thanks to Chase being an idiot, my wide receiver room is... Yeah, I get it. Running back 2. Obviously, if Jacobs is out there, you play him. But in the event that he's not playing, then between Jones and Marks is where I'm stuck there. Aaron Jones versus Green Bay. Look, Marks has the better matchup, but I trust Aaron Jones more. So again, Jacobs, but in the event that there's no Jacobs, Aaron Jones. And then in your flex spot, oh, you got great options in your flex. I really like McMillan this week on paper. I have to emphasize this for a lot of people because they think I can predict the future. This might shock a lot of you. I can't actually predict the future. But based off of paper, what we know, stats, analytics, research, this is a good matchup against the 49ers. I believe they're going to have to throw, by the way, in San Francisco. And that's what you want. And if there's no Bryce Young, I don't care. Because Andy Dalton I'd probably prefer anyway rest of the year. So we're going to start Tetero and McMillan. Honestly, man, I don't think you're in that bad of a spot with the Chase stuff. You could be in a much worse spot losing Jamar Chase. You have must starts across the board. So you're in a pretty good position there. Enchanting Ad says 9-2. What would you offer for Chase if not this? Yeah, it's interesting because Avery in the Flock League is shopping Jamar Chase because he's 5-6 and he needs to make the playoffs. And I don't think Avery would get this return if Rice wasn't on his team. I don't think he would. So I think if you're shopping for Jamar Chase, then it's probably from a team that needs to win. And of course, this is all about leverage. So if the guy shopping Jamar Chase needs to win, you have leverage in this deal. So you could probably get Chase for less. But if the guy shopping Jamar Chase does not need to win, he's already made the playoffs, you don't have any leverage and you could probably take the deal. But assuming you do have leverage, then I'd be curious. Could sending Amon-Ra is interesting. Like, I almost feel like I would try like a Lab McConkey and throwing RJ in there and wondering if you could get back like a Chase Brown and a Jamar Chase. That would be my first try. I'm not saying it's possible, and again, it all comes down to leverage. We just talked about that, but that would be something that you could definitely try there. But again, if he's like he doesn't need to win, then this is a relatively fair deal. All right, let's see. I think we have a couple more questions here. Super Strategy 82 says, or Woody and Tet for Nico and Henderson. Super Strategy, I don't see any of the players that you put in. So I'm going to give you a free trade question voucher because there's no players that are selected. I don't know if it's an error on the site or if you accidentally didn't select someone. But I can answer this first question. Woody and Tet for Nico and Henderson. I want Nico and Henderson there. But I don't know what players are involved here. So I just gave you a voucher. Come resubmit with me. Would love to help out. Hood Pope is sending away Breece Hall and Nico Collins. Getting back Amon-Ra St. Brown. Breece Hall, Nico Collins to get back Amon-Ra St. Brown. Feels a little bit like an overpay. What does your lineup look like where you can afford to do this? You have Warren, Javonte Cook, Puka, Chase, Pierce. You got a good lineup. There's no doubt about it. I don't know. Am I the only one that thinks this feels like slightly too much of an overpay? I almost feel like it should be like Alec Pierce and Nico Collins. I know that's probably not enough for Amon-Ra. I don't know, man. I'm not obsessed with this deal. I mean, your lineup would be May, Javonte Cook, Puka, Chase, Bowers, Amon-Ra. That is pretty lethal. That starting 7 is pretty lethal. But of course, if any injuries happen, you're kind of screwed. But at this point, I think Nico's really recovered his value well. This feels too close for me. I think this is an overpay. Yeah. I almost feel you need to make it like a 3 for 2 if you're going to do this. And if you made it a 3 for 2, then in that world, you would send away like an Alec Pierce for a Nick Buka or something, you know? So I'm not in love with it, Hood Pope. I'll be honest with you. Not in love with it. All right, we are going to do a team review here soon. But we have a super chat we're going to get to. Again, you guys can enter today's giveaway. All you have to do is like the stream and type a week 12 into the chat, all one word. We'll give away some vouchers on the site. But let's jump to the super chat. Who dropped it? It was Jekko. What's up, Jekko? He says, I have James Cook and Texans D. Do I play them both? Yeah, it's a bit counterintuitive for sure. There are other defenses that I like better. Let me give you some options here. I mean, look, the Texans defense is a great start every week. There's no doubt about it. But if any of these names are available, I'd probably rather start them. You ready? I'll list them off. The Seahawks at Tennessee, the Browns versus the Raiders, the Ravens versus the Jets, the Packers versus JJ9 McCarthy, the Lions versus the Giants, the Patriots versus the Bengals, Falcons versus the Saints, probably Raiders versus Cleveland. Any else? Any others? San Francisco versus the 49ers would be interesting. The Jags versus the Cardinals for sure. So I would say if any of those are available, I would prefer to play them instead. But if the Texans are the best that you got, then, you know, they're a great defense all around. You can typically play them even in bad matchups. Yes, I need to win out, and it's unlikely to happen. Yeah, in the Flock League, it's unlikely I make the playoffs, y'all. I apologize. Did my absolute best to represent the land, but it wasn't our year. We were doomed from the very beginning. Injury bug never stopped. Honestly, you know, I went back and looked at my roster, and the only time I didn't deal with an injury, this is like 100% genuine. The only time I didn't deal with an injury was weeks 1 to 3. Every other week there was a significant injury. And yeah, just unfortunate, but not much you can do about it. And we move on. All right, let's jump to this team review from Big Tex. I'm from Texas. Appreciate y'all for being here. Let's jump to this team review. Let me get this set up on the back end for y'all. All right, I want to hear from the chat though. What's your guys', let's say the league you care about the most, what's your % chance of making the playoffs? In the league you care about most. That's what I want to know. Are you locked and loaded? Or are you struggling? What do you guys think? It would take an all-time miracle for me to get into the playoffs at this point. I'll be honest with y'all. In the Flock League. So this is R115. And this is Big Tex. All right, we've got some answers. I'm 3-8. Hey, Mike. I think someone made the playoffs in the Flock League last year at 3-8. Let me go back and look at the previous leagues. I miss this team that we built. Can we take a second and look at the team that we built last year? Oh my gosh. Healthy Joe Burrow. Prime Derrick Henry. Really, the most prime version of Joe Mixon we've seen the last couple of years. Malik Neighbors. Prime Terry. McBride, Evans, Johnny Taylor. Good Lord. And we had Chris Olave on our IR. The most points the league has ever seen in the playoffs. It just came a week too late. I would have been a champion if it came 1 week earlier. It's not even like we busted. We put up 164 points. Man, it's just a damn shame, isn't it? I still, to this day, and I know obviously Avery probably disagrees, I think this is the best team that the Flock League has ever seen. I don't know how you can argue against that being the best team the Flock League has ever seen. There's not a weakness anywhere. But this year, the injury bug has really, really killed us. But I didn't come here to reminisce. What did I come here to do? I come here to look at the playoff standings. Yes, Thomas got into the playoffs at 6-8. And then Thomas ended up getting to the finals. So yeah. I'm saying that because, you know, don't give up if you're 3-8. Even if there's a 1% chance, there's still a chance that you know, you can sneak in there. But yeah. I'm saying there's a chance. We got 7-4, 98%, 9-2s, 89% playoff odds, 90%, 100%. I love that. I love that. Good news is in my 2 home leagues, I'm making the playoffs too. And those are the leagues I used to care about the most, but now the Flock League is just so prevalent in my life. But we got playoffs in both of those leagues, which I'm excited about. Anyway, let's jump to this team review from Big Tex. Appreciate you big time, my friend. I am going to review this person's team. Shout out to him for showing some love. Of course, anybody who gets a team review with us also gets what we call a team playbook. And that is a customized team review for your fantasy football team. And if you want that, all you got to do is use the code LAND, become an annual Mother Flock member. That will give you a voucher that you can use through the Flock store. Or you can buy one a la carte if you're a member of a different promo code. You don't have to, if you're already code Flock, you can still buy a team review from us. It just has to be a la carte. But shout out to Big Tex. He is a member. That's why it says free. Let's read the context. He says, started 8-3, currently sitting in second place. Just trying to see if I should make any trades before the 22nd deadline or ride it out. Really need Benson and Irving to come back. Thanks for the help. America's dumpster fire. He's currently ranked 3rd. And let's have a look at the squad. So he's got Baker Mayfield, Bucky, Kyron, Woody, Benson, Harvey. I like that running back room. He's got Puka, Odunze, Olave, Jordan Addison. And then at tight end, Loveland and Fannin. Look, I think the first thing I would suggest from you, my friend, is to drop Marvin Mims and pick up Chris Rodriguez. Chris Rodriguez looks to be the starter there in Washington. And I think we need to remember that we could see Jaden Daniels come back after their bye. I'm not guaranteeing that will happen or anything, but Chris Rodriguez has been very effective as the lead rusher for the Commanders, averaging over 5 yards per carry in 2 of his last 3 games, and one of those against a really tough defense in Seattle, versus Seattle. So he's got a great playoff schedule. Giants, Eagles, Dallas. There's not a single negative matchup there. So definitely I would say Chris Rodriguez deserves to be picked up. And even if that means that, you trade someone else, that maybe lets you trade RJ Harvey, or I don't know, it gives you flexibility. Because what I'd like to do is I'd like to package one of your running backs with a tight end to improve tight end. And then I'd like to have RJ or Chris Rodriguez to kind of take that space, if you will. You've also got Chris Godwin on the waiver wire. Josh Downs. Jaden Higgins is starting to really pick up. But yeah, I like it. As far as stashes right now, you could probably keep Blake Corum to cover off Kyron Williams. And Trey Benson is still a stash at this point. Untradables would be Puka Nacua. I don't think there is another untradeable at this point. And you are in a 1 quarterback, 12 team start 8. So you're in a meat and potatoes lineup. Let's go to team grade. I would probably give this team, realizing that you're starting Baker. When Bucky's healthy, let's say Bucky, Kyron, Puka, Odunze, Loveland for now, then Odunze, Olave. That's a pretty good lineup right there. It's not elite, but it's a damn good lineup. I'd probably put that at B flat. B flat feels fair. I guess it depends on what version of Baker Mayfield you get down the stretch, but I would say a B flat range feels pretty fair to me. I like the team for sure. And let's think about some realistic trade ideas that we can put together. So again, assuming that you're able to pick up Chris Rodriguez, who's on a bye, so I don't think people would be too hyped up on him. Assuming you can pick him up, then that gives you the ability to package RJ Harvey and Colson Loveland. And what we need to find is a team that just desperately needs running back. And I guess we'll say like Harvey and let's say Harvey and I don't want to sell Woody, but I feel like if you get the right deal, we'll say Woody's interchangeable. Okay. So let's go and find a tight end upgrade ideally. Who needs help at running back? So the team that's 5 and 6, their running back room is actually decent. That's probably the only good thing they have. The team that's 6 and 5 and they're called Nutsack, kind of perfect, right? They have Brock Bowers. Could you get Brock Bowers for Harvey and Loveland? Maybe not. Maybe it takes Woody and Loveland. If Woody and Loveland don't work, look, you can't give them Kyron, but I wonder if you add on Jordan Addison. If you add on Jordan Addison, maybe that would push him over the edge. And you could ask for something small back, like, I don't know. There's not really that much that's interesting there. I mean, if he's willing to give up Alec Pierce, then great. I don't know. Since you have Bucky Irving, ask back for Sean Tucker as well, hypothetically, right? So you know you can start one of those guys. So yeah. So that is an option. And that's honestly a very, that's the ideal option for you. And if Nutsack is being honest with himself, he has tight ends he can start. When Laporte is back from IR, I don't know when that will be, but Kelsey's a startable name. So I feel like he could desperately use the running back help on that team. Let's keep looking here. Okay, the guy who has Dallas Goedert. I'm not really sold on Goedert, to be honest, but I almost feel like Goedert would be... If you were to get Goedert, I would probably just do like Trey Benson straight up for Dallas Goedert. You can afford to lose Benson, and that it doesn't feel like a great answer, to be honest with you. Let's keep looking. I'd love to get a tight end from this team if they had any good tight ends, but they don't. This guy's got Kittle and Ferguson. This team is perfect. You just have to change the way you structure the deal. So in this deal, you would have to make it... Loveland is not interesting to him, right? He already has... what team was it? He already has Kittle and Ferguson. But if you can offer him, let's say, Jordan Addison... I almost feel like Jordan Addison plus Trey Benson, for example, for George Kittle. That seems like a relatively fair deal all around. All right. That's an option. The team with Tyler Warren does have a running back need. That's great. They have Kincaid and Hawkinson. Perfect. Can we get Tyler Warren? If it's not RJ Harvey and Loveland, what about Woody and Loveland? And if that doesn't get the job done, again, you can add Trey Benson to the deal and ask for something small back. For example, something small back would be... Jordan Mason, maybe? Not ideal, but it's something. Those are a lot of good options, though. The Gadsden owner. Gadsden's on a buy right now, by the way. I don't think he has many needs, but he could use a better RB3. So the same. This is actually a really good deal here. RJ Harvey. I wouldn't do Loveland here though. I would do RJ Harvey. Maybe straight up for Gadsden. Maybe you can do RJ Harvey. Yeah, like Harvey and Fannin maybe. That's a pretty good one too. And I wouldn't include that in the Woody Marks offers. Outside of that, man, I think you're in a good spot. There's a reason that you are 8-3. Keep doing your thing, and you're killing it, man. You're absolutely killing it. Appreciate you big time for showing some love to the channel. You're gonna obviously get your team playbook here within the next 24 to 48 hours. We've got a couple more questions on the site that just popped up, so I'll get to those real quick, and then we'll call it a stream. You guys have one last shot here to get into today's giveaway. All you need to do to enter is like the stream and type week 12 into the chat. That's as simple as it gets. The deuce is loose. I apologize. The deuce is loose. Let's turn this off. Where are we? Says pick up Tootin or Michael Wilson. 8-3, trade or run it. Okay. So if Dart is healthy this week, you start him. Otherwise, Jacoby Brissett. At wide receiver, we're going to start Stephon Diggs. And in your last flex spot, I would be starting probably either be Downs or Pearsall. I think Downs is safer, and Pearsall has a higher upside. He's getting open on his routes. He just wasn't targeted. And then pick up Tootin or Michael Wilson. Look, I think if those are both options, I'd rather pick up Tootin. I just believe that Michael Wilson, when Marvin Harrison is back and healthy, will not be a startable name like he has been all year. So that would be my opinion, honest opinion, on that situation. But I like the team, man. Good team there. Dan, what's up? Says start Flacco, McCarthy, or Brissett. Flacco or Brissett is where I would be there, and I would be going Joe Flacco against the Patriots. Hard to run on the Patriots, by the way. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot. At running back, obviously if Bucky plays, you're starting him along with James Cook. Here's what I'll say. I'm very confident Stevenson plays this week. If there's a world where he doesn't, then you probably start Henderson over both of these names. Okay? And maybe we're still going to flex Henderson. You'll play Brian Thomas over Burden if he's healthy. If not, Burden's a fine desperation option. Tyler Warren will go into your lineup. In your flex spots, you're going to start Trayvon Henderson regardless based off of your options at flex. And you're going to start Tyrone Tracy. So Henderson's going into your lineup no matter what. And you said you can pick up Mooney. I'd still start Brian Thomas over Mooney, but I think he's worth being rostered. I just don't know who you would cut. Maybe Ray Davis. Yeah, probably Ray Davis. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful, Dan. Okay, that's all the questions on the Flock site. Someone asked a pretty funny question. It's not even funny, but I think it's a good question. Someone said, it was Sam, he says, unrelated question. What kind of leagues are you guys in? What's on the line? I feel like I spend way too much time just to win $500, but I love fantasy. Yeah. I'd say the total prize money of all the leagues I'm in, if I was, let's count up how much money I could possibly win every year, with including the Flock League, that number would probably be, let me do some quick math in my head. Okay, sorry, just give me a second because I'm trying to actually work this out in my head. That would be 15, 17 leagues. So 2,900. And then in my home leagues, it's basically the same as well. So somewhere in the range of 14 grand between all the leagues. But you have to keep in mind, like, the Flock League is 10K. So the leagues outside of the Flock League, almost 4 grand is up for grabs. But the Flock League is pretty out of pocket with the 10 grand prize. So yeah. But it is funny, like, even, you know, I've been playing fantasy my whole life. Even when I was 8 years old and I was playing with my dad's fantasy league in, what would that have been, like early 2000? Yeah. I think we played for like vouchers to restaurants. I can't remember, but I still cared about it more than anything else. Like it still mattered so much to me. But yeah. Okay. So we've got this giveaway. Let's see how many people have entered. We currently have 28 entries. And this is your last chance to enter here. I'm going to give away some vouchers. So let's go ahead and copy these names. We're going to give away a start, sit, and trade question voucher, starting with the start, sit. And the start, sit goes to... that's the person who just asked the question. So you're getting the start, sit, but we also have a trade question voucher. And the trade question voucher goes to 13.code3. All right, so both of you guys who just won those vouchers, listen to these steps, very important. All you need to do is DM me on Discord. I need a screenshot of your YouTube account, and I need to know your Flock Fantasy username. And if you already have an account, that's fine. Just tell me your username. If you don't have an account yet, very important step here, create a free one using the promo code LAND. That way I can find you on the back end. I'll put a link there. So yeah, appreciate y'all. No worries at all. I'll definitely see your DM, Sam, there. DT says, oh, these are big baller leagues. I actually don't know what I don't know like the biggest amount I've ever heard. What's your guys' biggest buyout in any league? I mean, look, I will say the Flock League is fun to be a part of. However, at the same time, it has plenty of negatives. All right. For example, if your entire team gets injured and you don't win games, people conclude that, you know, you're not good at fantasy football, which, by the way, is about a 10% skill game. You can find those edges, but so there's good and bad. There's good and bad from it. It's not always good. All right. $750 is your entry fee. That's a pretty heavy fee. That's a nice league right there. $750 if you got 12 members. That's a huge payout. All right, guys. Anyway, that's it for today. Appreciate you big time. You can ask us questions on the Flock site. We'll be live again before Thursday night. On tomorrow night, we will be live, but it will be on the Dynasty stream. So I'd love to have you guys come join us over there. We are doing Dynasty startup mocks. We're thinking about rookies. So again, I'd love to have you guys come join us over there tomorrow. It's not that we're not going live. It's that we are starting to switch some of our attention towards the Dynasty side of things. So come follow us on Dynasty Land Football, and we'll see you there. Nothing but love, guys. Enjoy the rest of your nights.